Well, good morning. Welcome to Debbie's Back Porch. So glad to have you with us. I made Spaetzle for you the other day. And so today I made Cheese Spaetzle or Kaesespaetzle because my family loved it and we wanted to try something new. So here are the ingredients. Please pause and write them down. And hey, if you like our videos, give us a thumbs up and subscribe, and then you'll get a notice when I post a new video. Twice a week. Thanks. Let's get cooking. So we're going to start out with a cast iron skillet and some butter. And here is an onion chopped up. And really this was one onion, weighed over a pound. So you'll probably want to use 2 onions of normal size. And this is a Vidalia. So I'm going to separate it. We're going to cook it on a low heat. Won't cook it all the way to caramelization, but we're going to cook it a good long time. So I'm going to get these started before I actually make my Spaetzle dough. Now this is not macaroni and cheese. It's Kaesespaetzle. And we're going to want a lot of cheese. I have Asiago, Gruyere, and cheddar. Traditionally you would use a cheese called Emmental. I don't have that. But I'm going to grate up about 16 ounces of this. And then we're going to make this Spaetzle. 2 cups of all-purpose flour, a teaspoonful of salt, 2 eggs, and 3/4 cup milk, and then just a pinch of fresh nutmeg. And I'm going to sift all these together, and I'm going to go through this pretty quickly. I have a video on making the Spaetzle, and I'll put a link in the info section, just in case you want to spend a little more time on that. I'm grating in some fresh nutmeg. You can use ground nutmeg, but you'd really like it better if you use the fresh and grated it in. So I'm just sifting all the dry ingredients together into my mixing bowl. You can see my cheese back there, by the way. I did 8 ounces of cheddar and 4 each of Asiago and Gruyere, and I've got that waiting. You really don't want to use already grated cheese because it just doesn't melt right. So we're going to make a little well in the middle of our dry ingredients here and pour in the eggs. And these are 2 large eggs. And then I'll start mixing, and I'll add the milk as we go. And I've measured out 3/4 cups, and then I'll judge because I may have to add a little bit more, and I'll wait and add the last little bit here because it could be a couple tablespoons full either way. We want to make a batter that is about like pancake batter, maybe just a tad thicker. We're going to put this through a Spaetzle maker, so it does have to be the right texture. See, that's just too thick. So I've put about 2 tablespoons full of water to loosen it up a tad. And I think we've got it about right now. And I'll show you the Spaetzle maker when I meet you at the stove. I did buy one. I usually use a colander, but I went ahead and bought a Spaetzle maker because my great-granddaughter really loved the Spaetzle, so I plan to make it more often. In the meantime, I'm going to take up my onions. You can see that they're pretty well cooked. They're not caramelized. You can cook them longer if you want to. I'm going to let these drain on a paper towel while I cook our Spaetzle. I have a big pot of water coming to a boil. This is my Spaetzle maker. I got it on Amazon for $10. I thought I could invest $10 in this. And I've got my water coming to a boil. I'm going to put a good bit of salt in there. Anytime you're cooking pasta, dumplings, rice, potatoes, you need a good bit of salt in the water. Most of it gets rinsed off, but some of it will, of course, absorb and add to the flavor. So I got a little ahead of the camera here. I've just dumped some of the Spaetzle dough right into the little box, and I'm moving it back and forth. And you can see how the dumplings fall down. And this is why you didn't want your batter to be too thick or too thin. You want it to go through pretty easily. Now once you do half and half. You don't want to put too much in at one time or it won't get done properly. It'll take the temperature down too much in your water. So we're going to give it a little stir. And you know, some folks say as soon as it rises it's done. I think you need to cook it about 4 minutes or so just to get a nice firm texture. Now over here to the left I have a 9-inch skillet. You can use any kind of pan. I just use cast iron for most things. Have a little butter melting in it. I have a little low heat on it. And I'm going to take the spaetzle out and put it right into this pan. And this is the pan that's going in the oven, by the way. So just drain it, and you don't really have to drain it too much. We're not adding any milk or anything like that. So if there's a little bit of the starch water, that's fine. With this pan, I'm going to make 2 layers. If you use a different kind of pan, you may use 3. Putting a little freshly ground pepper here. Then I'm going to make a layer of the onions and spread those out. Now, in many recipes that I've seen, there'll be more onions that are fried crispy to go on the top. I'm going to end up putting breadcrumbs on the top of mine. So we spread those out, and then we put the cheese on, and I'm using probably more cheese than the traditional Kaesespaetzle would call for, but that's because I like cheese. So now I'll cook the rest of the spaetzle. And because I missed this part the first time, I'll show you. You just pour the batter into this little box, and then it starts falling through. And if you make this a couple of times, you'll get the texture right. With that recipe, you shouldn't have to vary more than a couple tablespoons full either way. And let me mention too, I really like this little spaetzle maker. You can make it, you can just use a colander if you want to. Some people use a board, a little wooden board. They flip little slivers of the dumpling off into the water. But I think this little spaetzle maker is the easiest way. So here we're going to finish up with the onions and pepper and cheese. And then we're going to bake this in a 350 oven until everything is melty and crispy. And that took about 20 minutes. And then I topped it off under the broiler for about 2 minutes just to get nice, crispy, crunchy top. And this is what we have. I'm sorry, I have an onion there trying to escape. I'll clean that up before I take a picture. We're going to plate this lovely thing up. I have some schnitzel that I've cooked. Be right back. So I've garnished this with some little green onion tops. You can use chives. I've cooked schnitzel in a different video. I'll show it to you. And this is a little yogurt dill sauce. And I'm going to take a bite of this, and I know it's wonderful. Hope you want to give it a try. Thank you for joining us on Debbie's Back Porch. Hope to see you again tomorrow.